Yo, Vault Hunters, Augiesaint here and welcome to the channel. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day and we're going to talk about some Borderlands 4. It is very close to launch now. We're only a couple of hours away while we are recording this video. I will be live over at twitch.tv/Augiesaint, streaming all of our gameplay and us just learning everything there is to learn about Harlowe, because that's where we finally decided to play as our first character. Now we'll be playing all the characters and covering and making builds for all of them, so stay tuned to the YouTube by subscribing. It helps me out and it keeps you guys up to date on everything we figure out in Borderlands. As I say, we'll definitely be covering all the other characters. Now let's talk about this little leveling build we have made in the background. Obviously this is all theory craft that I haven't been able to test this in game yet, but the whole focus of this is to kind of turn Harlowe into Maya from Borderlands 2. If you guys have played a lot of Borderlands 2, she's one of my favorite characters throughout the whole Borderlands franchise and one of my most played characters, especially in Borderlands 2. She's my second most, just behind Salvador, but we don't really have a Salvador-like character in Borderlands 4 yet. Maybe, who knows, one day. So for now, we're going to be turning Harlowe into Maya, basically just having her stasis thing so we can lift up all the enemies, and then her entanglement passive spreading all the damage between all the enemies. And we're going to focus on cryo as our main source of damage from our weapons, so along with her action skill while you are leveling for cryo weapons, and make sure you are using them because the build kind of focuses around it. Once you get later on down into telemetry, there will be a passive skill called triple point, which we'll be picking up. And then we'll kind of let you do some cryo damage, even though you aren't doing cryo damage. But if you are doing cryo damage, it will let you do even more cryo damage. So you really want to try and pick yourself up a cryo weapon from the start. And the thing that I like about cryo is it does a little bit of increased damage against shields, which I'm sure a lot of the enemies are going to have shields. You're going to have to like switch around the elements. Obviously not as strong as what electric would be to wipe out shields really fast. But cryo does do bonus damage against shields. Plus it also, you don't CC's enemies. And when you CC enemies and freeze enemies, how we have the talent tree set up, that's going to give you cooldown reduction on your action skill and everything. So we're really going to be focusing on cryo damage and then obviously control of the map by just freezing all the enemies. And I think it's going to be a pretty decent tanky build as well, because we will have lifesteal and a little bit of overshielding. With the passive that we have, keep ice on that. All cryo damage Harlowe deals gains lifesteal. If Harlowe's health is full, she gains overshield instead. We have another passive here, Main's Home, which is going to give her increased maximum shield capacity and increased maximum overshield. So if you are healing up in your full health, then we'll be giving you overshield. So make it nice and tanky for when we do play this on hard mode. This is what I plan to do with this build, playing on hard mode, and I'll also be having a friend join me. That's why I kind of went with the little bit of supporty style there with the peer review, so we can go ahead and res them if they go down. So those are the main points about the build. Now let's quickly have a look over at the talent tree. I will have this in a Mobalytics build guide, linked down below in the description. And then once we actually get to testing out these things and figure out what works better, we'll change that up in-game live, and we'll also be changing up the skill tree planner. But we'll make a different link over here somewhere in the page over here where we can actually go to like the updated live one, which I'll be using as I'm playing. For now, this is the one I'm going to be focusing on, and it's the one I'll be sharing with you guys down below in the description. So make sure you check it out. I did a little overview over there. Also covered the talent that we spoke about earlier, the triple point giving you the cryo damage, as well as the different augments you can change if you're not playing co-op, or if you are playing co-op, and obviously use peer review. So let's come down and start out with the tree. You want to start out with the blue tree, and I made this really easy to follow, as you can just pretty much pick up things in order. You don't have to like go back and forth. I don't have to show you guys the skill priority. So right off the bat, we're going to be picking up Pulse Drive, which gives you increased action skill cooldown rate, 25% once you have this maxed out. There's a nice cooldown bonus there to her action skill. You can see her action skill 0 point has a 35-second cooldown and a 10-second duration. So the cooldown is just over half a minute. And then once we pick this up and we have some more cooldown further down, and I'm sure we'll be able to get some more cooldown maybe on a class item later in the game. I think we will be able to get this down to a really short cooldown, and we can just spam it and we'll be phase locking all the enemies all over the place and then jumping between them all, and then also entangling all of them so they all take damage from each other. So it'll give you like nice AoE and CC. And then coming further down the tree, we go with periodic table flip. This is going to give you a ton of increased elemental damage, status effect, as well as cryo effectiveness. I think this is a really strong passive because once you max it out, it gives you 20% LE damage, 20% status, and 20% cryo effectiveness. So really strong for the 5 points that you go in and spend over there. Then we go down to the next line. You could pick up ripple effect first. This is a kill skill that's going to automatically entangle another nearby enemy, and the entanglement is just her passive. So I don't think you even have to have them in the action skill. So you can pretty much just like spread the entanglement all over the place, so enemies are going to take increased AoE damage from other enemies, and it's just going to bounce around. It does have a 12-second duration, so if you're killing enemies within 12 seconds, then that should be spreading to another enemy, and then I'm assuming it's going to reset the duration on it once it jumps over to the new enemy. Then we have 2 Coolant for Schoolant. It's going to give you action skill cooldown once you are dealing cryo damage. Hopefully you can pick up a cryo weapon pretty soon. But by the time you get to this point, you should have a cryo weapon because you'll be about level, seems like level 10, 11-ish, around there, if you get 1 point per level. And then moving further down the tree, we're going to focus on the Cold Plunge as our capstone. So we're going down this middle tree at the bottom. We're going to pick up Keep on Ice as our first passive. All cryo damage Harlowe deals gains lifesteal. If Harlowe's health is full, she gains Overshield instead. We're only putting 3 points in there, so we can actually pick up 2 points in Unstoppable Isothrow. This is a kill skill that just gives her bonus cryo damage on all sources. And then we're going to come down and pick up Flash Freeze. This is a passive. Whenever you deal cryo damage with an action skill, she gains a chance to freeze that enemy. And the reason we picked that up is because of Heatsink. Whenever Harlowe freezes an enemy, she gains increased action skill cooldown rate. So you can see all the cooldown rate is starting to add up now, and I'm hoping that it's going to let us just spam her action skill all over the place, Phaselocking like crazy, pretty much just living our Maya dream. And then we come down to Triple Point. This is what I was talking about before. Whenever Harlowe deals non-cryo damage to an entangled enemy, she deals bonus cryo damage to that enemy. If she deals cryo damage to an entangled enemy, she deals increased bonus damage. So basically, if you're not doing cryo damage, you'll then do extra bonus cryo damage. And if you are doing cryo damage, you'll do even more increased bonus extra cryo damage from entangled enemies. And because of our ripple effect, we should be pretty much entangling all enemies. So you're pretty much just be getting increased damage on enemies, and you'll also be getting that cryo if you are using a weapon that's not cryo. And then if your strongest weapon happens to not be cryo, it doesn't matter because you'll be getting this bonus as cryo damage, which is then going to go ahead and proc all of her other skills. So the cryo lifesteal, the cryo cooldown, it's just going to all come back into each other with the cryo damage. Then we also pick up Cold Plunge as our capstone. Whenever Harlowe slams an enemy, she creates a singularity on that enemy followed by a cryo explosion. So I believe you can trigger this by just activating your action skill twice, where it will lift up the enemies and you can slam them down into the ground. Whether we're actually going to use this a lot, I'm not sure, but for now we're just going to pick that up because it is down the tree we are going to be using. And then the last 3 points we're going to put in this tree is over on Concurrence. Harlowe gains increased action skill duration for every entangled enemy. So we're going to have entanglement spreading everywhere, and this is going to increase her duration even more. And you could switch out the augment. The reason we're going to use the peer review augment is because we're going to be playing with a buddy. But if you're not playing with a buddy, you could switch over to inertia. When an enemy Harlowe has stasis dies, a new enemy is automatically added to the stasis. When this happens, Harlowe's action skill duration resets, however it drains much quicker. So that'd be a nice one to try out instead of the peer review if you're not going to be playing the teammate. However, the peer review is not bad by itself either. It says whenever an enemy enters stasis, spawn a homing projectile that targets Harlowe or her allies. Once the enemy is slammed, killed, or stasis ends, the projectile grants decreased action skill duration rate and increased action skill cooldown rate for a little bit of a duration. And then the second part there, if the target is in fight for your life, they immediately gain second wind as if they killed an enemy. But if you're not playing team play, it's also pretty good because you could maybe revive yourself, or you also get the action skill cooldown and duration, which is nice over there. So you could go ahead and like pretty much just reset your 0 point depending on how much cooldown is left once this actually goes ahead and procs. And then over in the red share, we're going to pick up the increased status effect chance as well as the increased elemental damage and status effect damage over there from these 2 points, Fuzzy Math and Elementary. And then lastly, over in the green share, we're going to pick up Main's Hum, just a passive that's going to give us increased maximum shield capacity as well as the overshield capacity, which we'll be getting from the healing effect with our cryo damage. And we also get action at a distance. Whenever Harlowe applies a status effect to an enemy, she gains a chance to apply that status effect to each entangled enemy. If you max this out, it is a 50% chance. So you will be applying that cryo and freezing all enemies at the same time, which is then going to make all of your cryo and freeze nodes and everything of that cool down your action skill even more faster. So I'm hoping this works out as good as what it sounds over here on paper. Like I said, we'll be over at twitch.tv/Augiesaint, trying it out and leveling up with this build, as Harlowe is going to be our first character we focus on. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you found it helpful and you liked it, please drop a like and sub to the channel. It helps me out so much and it keeps you guys up to date with everything Borderlands going forward. I'll see you guys out there hunting for all the loot and legendaries. May all your loot be blessed by Maya, as she is our queen. Praise Maya, our queen and savior. Augiesaint out.
Run free and dive into the sky. Hear the wind crying.